Hello YouTube, this is Brownell's Tech Tips, and in this video we're going to show you how to secure your Chromium browser, which will also work for Firefox, so it'll be secure Firefox or Chromium, and also how to set up security for your system and configure your system pretty much for everyday use. So first thing you want to do is we're going to do the configuration. So you're going to click on the settings button, and this will be pretty much uniform across the board for all operating systems. So the first thing you're going to do is go to settings. Of course, this is in the Unity, so the Unity bar settings is going to be right there. Others, the settings will be located in various other areas, but it'll still be relatively easy to locate. So to do the settings, first thing we're going to set is we're going to check the power settings. So you notice it says suspend when inactive. Don't suspend. That's good. Go back to all settings. If that's set to don't suspend, you're not going to have a whole lot of problems. So we're going to go to your software and updates. So here, this is where you can change where your software repositories and what repositories are included. So we're going to do the Canonical Partners. That's going to add a whole lot of software to the repositories for download. This is your updates. It's going to automatically check daily, download and install automatically. And this is going to be for notify me of new Ubuntu versions for long-term support versions. So now we're going to click on authentication. Everything looks good in there. Additional drivers, there aren't any additional drivers, so since there's not, we don't have to click on here and install anything. Then under the developers options, you can do pre-release updates. If you really want to do that, you can. I wouldn't recommend it. The only one you really need to worry about is that Canonical Partners right there. And then for your download from, depending upon where you're located at, will depend on where you're going to select. So being in the United States, I'm going to make sure mine says server for United States. Now that all that's set, I'm going to click close, click reload. So this is its way of updating the repository cache, similar to doing the apt-get update. And if you need to create a user account, this is where you would do that. You notice that I only have the single account, so I'm doing everything pretty much with my super user account. I don't recommend doing that. Use your super user account only for administrative tasks like installing software, removing software, various things like that. But you do want a separate account that is your account specifically that you use for running your software and doing everything in. So now that I have all that set, we can close out this. We no longer need those settings. And what we're going to go look for is the firewall. And you notice there's really not anything installed for a firewall. So we're going to pull up the software. We're going to type in firewall, and right here you have firewall configuration, and then the firewall configuration provides a graphical tool from Sundry. UFW is a program for maintaining net filtered firewall and aims to provide an easy to use experience. Notice that one says non-free. Some of these are paid for. You do have to watch out for that. So this one has a 4-star. This one has a 3-star. So we're going to click on this one, go for the 4-star. And of course it's going to ask for the password, which is pretty normal. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to type in clam. And you see the ClamTK. Click install. This is for an antivirus. Doesn't have ParaGuard in there, so ParaGuard is something we're going to have to go download. I pretty well figured that was going to be the case. So we're going to go to Chromium for this, and we're going to type in and it looks like the last guide that they had was for 1304. So we're going to go ahead and make sure it's ParaGuardian for Ubuntu 1604. And there's one specific one in particular that I'm looking for. This one's it too. Okay, so for ParaGuardian, we're going to need to open up Terminal. Let's just click up here, delete out what we have in the search. Terminal will be in the recently used. sudo su password. And now we're going to type in apt-get update. Okay, and it's already good for those, so we're going to come to this repository, highlight all of this section, hit Control-C, switch to the terminal, right-click, paste, hit enter, hit enter again as it requests to continue. And now we've added the new repository. So now we have to type in sudo, apt-get update. Sorry, sudo is one of those, if you don't log in directly as super user, then you can do sudo and then the command, and then it'll just ask for the password for that one command. I don't like doing that because you have to put in the password a lot of times, and you have to use sudo at the beginning of everything, so it's pretty bad. So now we're going to type apt-get install pgld pglcmd pglgui, which is the ParaGuardian GUI. Hit enter, hit Y for yes, and now it's going to completely download and install the packages for ParaGuardian. While it's downloading those, let's go about securing the web browser itself. So for Firefox and Chromium both, there's this thing that's called no script. So you're going to do the no script for Chrome, which will give you the no script Script Lite for Chrome at the Chrome Web Store. And in Firefox it'll just be called no script, but the process will be exactly the same. Click add extension, and now we have no script. And what no script does is it stops web pages from being able to automatically execute and run scripts at any time. If it's a site that you go to on a regular basis that you know is safe, then you can add it to the exception list, and it will allow you to go ahead and use everything on the site. If it is not, then you're not going to get that. So another thing that I like to add is HTTPS everywhere. So we're going to click X here while we're in the Chrome store, and this causes you to use encryption on all, and I do mean all, sites that you go to. It forces everything to run in HTTPS. So that's now installed. Another one is Ublock Origin. This will block a crap ton of advertisements. Add extension. Add block plus. This blocks a crap ton of other advertisements that you don't want. These also block nasty ads and bad ads that actually run malvertising campaigns and can install malware just because the ad showed up on your computer, which is another thing that no script stops as well. So good reason you have those. And then the other one I like to have is called HTTP Spy. And HTTP Spy basically gives you the ability to see all headers for everywhere that you go. This is not something I would recommend for everybody because most of you are not going to know what to do. Some security personnel are going to know, so anytime you type in www.facebook.com, you will get a header that pops up over here on the right hand side. This is everything that basically your system requested, and it'll also give you the responses and everything else for everything that your system sent to get the particular page that you went after. So that is actually a very, very nice and handy application to have, and it is a really, really good one for being able to quickly look at your HTTP requests and responses. And you might see a bunch of them span across the page when you go to a website. That means there were several requests that you sent, and you'll notice right here Ublock Origin has already blocked 2 ads from this site, so that'll really help you out a lot. And like I said, these also work in Firefox, so you can set it up in both browsers and really boost the crap out of your safety. So now that we're done with the browser, we're going to go ahead and close the browser, and we're going to close the software tab over here. And now we're going to go ahead and configure the variable init. We're going to let it go ahead and boot. Warning, start and stop actions are no longer supported, falling back to defaults. It seems to, there we go, now it's going to finish. Okay, so now that it's finished with the install for there we go. So now that it's finished with the install and everything, your security software is installed. You can now hit exit and exit. And now we're going to click up here and we're going to look for Peer. And here's Peer Guardian for Linux. We're going to drag this down over here, drop it onto the Unity bar. And now we can close out of that, which, by the way, you can come up here and hit Settings, go to your Appearance, and you can have the launcher set to auto hide. You can enable workspaces, so you can have multiple workspaces if you want. You can add show desktop icon to the launcher and show menus for the window in the menu bar or in the Windows title bar. And then you have menu visibility, display on mouse hovering, or always displayed. I usually leave that on display on mouse hover. Enable workspaces, and now you'll notice that you always have the menu bar listed up here. And another thing is you have your options over here where you can go to system settings. Now to adjust your icons and where they sit, all you have to do is just grab, like I did right there, move it over to the left, bring it down, and then drop it where you want it to, and that'll move them around. So I'm going to put Chrome up there. The software one I would really prefer be at the near the bottom, and settings be at the very bottom. So now that I have that set, we're going to pull up ParaGuard, ParaGuardian. Click OK. Now we're going to tell it to update. I'm going to have to go uninstall it and then reinstall. So here's a really good rundown. To uninstall Ublock Guardian, if you have issues with it like what just happened here, you're going to go back to Terminal. And remove. Yes. Sometimes you'll have issues and you'll have to uninstall and reinstall the application. So now we're going to go back and install it again. Anyhow, as you can see up here, it is currently running. We're going to force close. And the application is running. Honestly, you really don't want to install, do like I did and tell it yes to automatically start every time. I should have went to no with that one screen that was up. And you don't really want it to auto start every time. I wasn't thinking when I did that. I would have to literally go in and write out all the files and the config files manually, and I'm not really going to mess with that right now. But just make sure you hit no. And if you do want it to auto start, then it will automatically start just like it is right here. And then you can tell it to basically do start, stop, whatever from here. I tell it to stop, it's not going to do it. And as it says right here, warning, start and stop actions are no longer supported. So none of those functions are going to work. Once it starts and runs, that's it, it's running. So you will want your ParaGuard to be over here where you can pull it up, so that way you can actually get in and set up different lists. So go to configure and you can add all of these lists to your ParaGuard, or you can just leave it on whatever it has for defaults and it will run with those defaults. Most of the time what it already has will be more than enough. Some of these you do have to have a subscription for, not all of them, so it will freak out on that as well. So now we're going to click update. Yeah, the update doesn't work, so the only way to get ParaGuardian to properly update is basically to reboot the system. So we're going to right click and exit. Yes. Right click and exit. Yes. Click on this so that we actually have one instance of it running. And ParaGuardian's pretty well set up at that point. So the next thing we want to do is pull up our firewall configuration. And we want to exit out of terminal. You have profile, which is offline, public, and home. We're going to put it on home, flip the switch to on, and now it automatically denies all incoming connections and allows all outgoing. Now if you really want to go for a tight setup, you can hit reject outgoing or deny outgoing, and it will help guard and block you from command and control. But if you don't know very specifics on how to set the system up to communicate through certain ports and then open access to those ports, most of your applications are never going to be able to reach out and you won't be able to connect to anything. So I recommend leaving this just like this, and then you can close that. Your firewall is now configured and turned on. So now we can pull up your ClamTK, and from here it says an update is available. You do want to get that update. Click apply, hit back. Let's force it to update. You're configured to receive automatic updates, so we have to go to the update assistant. I would like to update the signatures myself. Apply, and then back. Now we can do the first manual update. Check for updates, click OK. Downloading. It's complete. So now click OK. Click back. Now you can go back to your update assistant, tell it to do it automatically, hit back, and from here you can scan a file, scan a directory. You can check your quarantine and everything else. You can whitelist, and you can also go to settings and scan for PUAs, scan for files beginning with a dot, scan for files larger than 20 meg, scan for directories recursively, and you can also deselect the dot because there are going to be some legitimate applications where it's going to have the dot on there. And honestly, that's really it. All you have to do now is go to your scheduler, schedule your schedule the time for your scans and your antivirus signatures. So I'll let mine do its update at 1:00 p.m. to update the signatures, and I want the scans to kick off around about let's say 11 o'clock at night. I end up being on nights most of the time, so that works out just fine. So now that the virus scanner is configured, all you got to do is close that out, and that is it. You are done. You now have your security configured. You have the firewall actually configured and running. You have the antivirus set up to where it automatically updates, and it also does an automatic scan of your downloads, your personal files, things like that. And you have ParaGuard set up to protect you. So you should be set up and ready to go. That's pretty much it for setting up the security and securing your system. You also got to see how to remove ParaGuard and do another install. However, like I said, with the way I goofed, which it's really not a screw up, it just forces ParaGuard to start every single time and disables some functions. So it basically depends on whether that's something you want or not. So this information's out there for absolutely everybody. As always, watch, like, and share. Have yourselves a great day.